A few weeks ago, I was on a huge podcast talking about mental health and the different things I've learned on how to hack your brain so you can overcome anxiety, depression, all of these issues that we deal with. I've been researching for the last 18 years. So I have a tremendous amount of information on these subjects. But that doesn't stop people from trying to argue with me around the validity of my point. Welcome to the Mental Health Janitors, where we help you clean up the mess in your head. I'm your host, Sergeant Q, and with me, as always, got Jess.
Hi, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Now, Jess, last week or the week before, I don't remember, but we were talking about low information voters. You remember this? Low information voters, people who just parrot talking points without actually knowing or understanding what is actually happening.
Mhm.
And the example we gave were the news stories that were coming out about Pete Hegseth buying steak and lobster and eating, millions of dollars worth of steak and lobster while poor Americans are struggling just to buy gas and groceries. That was a headline, and tons of people were sharing it. And I call those people low information voters.
But explain why, in a nutshell, quickly, that is a low information voter.
Low information voter because they hear something and they run with it because it aligns with their preconceived idea on the subject, no matter what it is.
Even though that policy has been in place
Since the 80s.
since the 80s to buy soldiers and
Steak and lobster.
But
But they don't take the time to actually look at that and say, that sounds odd. Millions of dollars on steak and lobster, something doesn't seem right. And so instead of challenging that, since it aligns with their way of thinking already, they just run with it. They don't take the time to gain new information. And the minute that you give them new information, they then reject it, they attack you. These are low information voters. And you've got them on both sides of the spectrum. Republicans do it when there's a Democrat president. Democrats do it when it's a Republican. So they're on both sides.
I've done it. I have fallen victim to my own low information voting.
Yes. And so I am now, because here's the thing, not all of you vote. And that's the reality. That's the reality. There's a huge majority of Americans that actually do not vote in elections. So I'm going to change the term. We're going to be a low information voter. But now we're going to call it LIPS, low information person syndrome.
Yes.
Because we're the mental health genders. I just created a new classification of people that needs to go into what's the book?
DSM-5.
The DSM-5.
It's a syndrome.
Let's put it in there.
It's a disorder.
It is.
Yeah, it is. It's
Sergeant Q said, I'm going to handwrite this in the margin of the DSM-5. Low information person.
ChatGPT, how do I qualify this person for insurance, for counseling, for low information person syndrome?
Yes.
Perfect.
Use this phrase, guys. Put it on Urban Dictionary.
Yeah.
Lips. You got lips, bro. When somebody says something that's just out of pocket, that they have no idea what they're talking about because they didn't actually do the research, you got lips.
I'll give you an example of how I've even been, I'm not going to say victim to this because I did it to myself.
You victimized yourself.
I victimized myself. I am, how do I say this without getting in trouble because I'm a licensed mental health counselor? There's certain agendas that are getting pushed in Washington state that are unhealthy in my personal ethical opinion for children to be able to do certain things to their bodies when they don't have the cognitive space to do it. So in a nutshell, I heard about my daughter was really sick and she's 16, so she can drive. I wasn't home yet and I told her to go to the urgent care. They said she couldn't be seen for a sore throat because she had to have a parent or guardian with her. I was all up in my feelings because I wanted her to be able to get seen because I'm sure she had strep throat and she needed antibiotics right away. And I couldn't make it there on time for this urgent care appointment. And so in my flesh, in my feelings, I posted something about Washington State is heading in this direction with minors, but my kid can't even get seen for a sore throat. And after I did the research, I posted something as a fact that Washington State was heading in the direction of when it actually isn't in place yet. So I had to retrace my steps and take the post down, but also explain this is actually not something that's in place yet. I spoke too soon. I was sad because my daughter was in so much pain, and I did it. I ran with a narrative or with a conspiracy or with something without doing my due diligence of fact checking at first, and just from emotion, just bleh. And I had to retrace my steps and take that back. So that's an example of a time that I had low information person's syndrome.
It's a good example.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so Jess, before we get into that, let's have a word from our sponsors. Today's episode is sponsored by Evolve Pathway. It is an online gamified mental resilience training program. What it does is it teaches you about the brain-body connection and simple little tasks that you can do to build resilience in your brain. That means you're going to have better mental health outcomes. You're going to have more resilience, and you're going to have capacity to share this with your friends and your family, ensuring that you have a much better mental health journey. Check out evolvepathway.com. We can all fall victim to this. We can. And so when you see your friends doing this, getting sideways, bring them back. Because here's the thing. I can't do it. Jess can't do it. A stranger can't do it because we have no value built on their life. So when we say it, it just reinforces what they already believe. So the only person who can help them is you. So if your friend has low information person syndrome, you may be entitled to compensation. No, I'm kidding.
The list here, if you're experiencing any of these side effects of low information person syndrome.
This is crazy. I posted about the sour candies. So it was a podcast I was on. They cut the short. That was one of the tips that I talked about. Sour candy, how when you take a sour candy, it floods your mouth with saliva, which turns on your vagus nerve, allowing you to go from survival brain to thinking brain, allowing you to take that thought captive in the moment and overcome an anxiety attack. And this explanation was about 50 seconds long. Cited the research, talked about it. That thing goes out. And Brad Lee, whose podcast I was on, millions and millions of followers. This guy has huge podcast. And I think I had like 100,000 views the first 4 hours of this thing. And it was unbelievable how many lips were on the comments. People saying things like, oh, super healthy, trading diabetes for anxiety. Like, you're just going to sit there and eat 17 bags of sour candy.
Because that's how much anxiety attack you have.
Right. Now, here's the reality. Now, for me, I could have gotten in my feelings.
Yes, you could.
And I could have lashed out, which I wanted to do. I actually wanted to strangle some of these people because some of the comments were so ridiculous. But I took a breath. I let my ACC engage.
Did you eat a sour candy?
Just to spite them, I did. But then I just went and said, hey, maybe this is new information for you. What? A sour candy has less sugar than a packet of ketchup. And so using a sour candy to get yourself through a moment of anxiety is going to be less detrimental to your physical health than a ketchup packet.
That's good.
And then I had other people on there saying, these were therapists. These were therapists coming on saying, you need therapy and you need this and you need that, not some stupid candy. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is new information for you.
I love that line. For the how to combat ellipse. Maybe this is new information for you.
Maybe this is new information for you. I agree. I said, maybe this is new information for you. And if you had watched the entire podcast, you would see that this is 50 seconds of a 90-minute podcast where I explained how therapy has its place, how you have to recondition the mind, build neural connections, increase the myelin around your ACC so you can grow capacity. This was one little quick fix to keep a couple pieces of candy in your pocket when you know that you're going to be in a high stress situation where you could possibly have anxiety to get through it. That it was not a fix. This was putting a Band-Aid on something so then you could get to the proper care that you needed. So maybe this is new information. And so I went through and I responded instead of reacted to these lips that just flooded into the comment section of this podcast. And it made me feel really bad. I've got to be honest, because that evening he sent me a message saying, hey, this stuff is popping off tomorrow. And I was like, sweet. Woke up in the morning, checked it. And I was traveling. So I was out of town. I was working on a project where I was working long hours every day, coaching businesses. And I wake up to all of these comments. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. This thing just popped off. This is awesome. As in I'm reading through them, it's all these people just throwing shade. Low information person syndrome. There were some derogatory ones that I actually didn't even remove. Just ridiculous stuff like that people were posting. So when I looked at it, Jess, I thought the immediate thing that came to my mind was cognitive dissonance. Mm-hmm. So break it down. What is cognitive dissonance and how is it applied to this?
Cognitive dissonance is believing one thing thoroughly in your brain and not acting that out as though you believe it. Mm-hmm. So somebody might call it hypocrisy, but it's genuinely diagnosable type term where you wholeheartedly, one of the best examples of it is have you seen the guy who goes around and dresses up like a very far one-way leaning human being and finds the bumper stickers of like women's rights is health care. And he'll go to the door, knock on the door and say, I have this petition for the Humane Society. Would you like to sign it? Sure. What is it? Yeah. What's it about? Well, we have some dogs in the car right now. They won't abort the puppies, but the dog, she's not ready to have puppies yet. She doesn't have a home yet. She would have to have the puppies in the shelter. And so they won't perform the health care on the puppy. And these people say, no, I won't sign that. I don't want you to kill puppies. But the bumper sticker on your car says women's rights is health care. And he gets them to explain what that means. And they can articulate with their mouths that a woman's right to choose to have a baby or to kill the baby while it's in their womb is health care. And then flip the switch to say it's not health care for a dog to get an abortion. And that's what a perfect example of cognitive dissonance would be.
And so I saw a lot of this with people who were in the mental health profession that were saying these things about the theories that I was putting forward and the research that I was putting forward, where they claim that they are this professional and that they believe in helping people with their mental health and all of these things, but yet they deny the information that's right there in front of them because people wanted to argue at me over these things. No. And I didn't engage past that, right? I just made the one comment, put the information out, and they still wanted to keep going because now they've already made this comment.
They're doubling down.
They're doubling down on it.
Yeah.
And they're refusing to even look at the information because it doesn't align with what they've said already. It was just crazy to see this. It was just wild that there are so many low information people out there that just run strictly on emotion. Strictly. And it was crazy to see people who claimed, I can't say that they were actually mental health professionals. They claimed to be, right? We have 29 years of experience as a mental health professional. To see them refusing to look at research.
Yeah.
That is sits in direct opposition to their public statements. It was beyond wild to see that.
Probably the same mental health professionals that I would put in the category that probably does more harm to their clients than good.
And
The ones that keep them in therapy for years and years and years because they want to validate every single feeling and and not help them grow their ACC.
Yes. And so we are of the mindset that therapy is very helpful. We've been through tons of it. I know Jess and her husband, they do marriage counseling. I do marriage counseling with my wife, and we're big fans of that. But at some point, you have to pick up the reins and do the work. You have to execute on the things that you're learning. And so many people go to therapy for decades, and they stay there because they never execute on the things that the therapist tells them. So this is a failure in therapy.
Very common failure in therapy. I've seen a lot of damage done in patients because therapists are low informed persons.
It's so funny because they are required to do continuing education to maintain their license. Because of this right here, because new research, new information comes out every single year. And so it's a requirement for them to continue their education, but it's apparent that they don't. Because, or if they do, it's only in one specific direction.
That's just
aligns with what they already believe.
Yes.
And so here's something that I will put out, and I talked about this. I put out a video, I think a week or two ago. This research came out. Yes, I don't know if you've watched this research that just came out, but I've been saying this for years. Gender affirming care, and this is my statement, gender affirming care does more harm to the mental health of a youth than those who don't receive it. And I've been saying that for years. You can try to cancel me. And many have tried to fight me over this. But research just came out. A 25-year-long study that had over 2,000 patients in it that showed that teenagers who received gender-affirming care compared to those who didn't, now they're both experiencing gender dysphoria. The children who got gender-affirming care had far worse mental health outcomes than those who did not receive gender-affirming care. Now, both of them are diagnosed with the same condition, gender dysphoria. But the gender-affirming care that is being thrust upon our kids
and our therapists
is proving to have far worse mental health outcomes by using this, I don't even want to call it therapy, by using this ideology. Far worse. Far worse. So much so that there are 30 active lawsuits for malpractice in the United States this year alone. And the first one was just awarded over $2 million in damages because of gender affirming care.
Interesting.
That is the reality. Those are the facts. These are not opinions. Before they were my opinion. Now these are irrefutable facts. This isn't a 1-year study of 7 people. This is 25 years worth of data with over 2,000 cases that they're studying. And when you look at the legality of it, it just adds to the relevance of my original opinion that is now becoming a fact. And here's why. The human brain doesn't fully develop until it hits between 22 and 25 years old. So when we are pushing this ideology of gender affirming care, where we want to give hormone blockers and prescribe these radical life altering surgeries to children who do not have the cognitive ability to process through the weight of that happening to them, it's because their brain is not fully developed. And when we push that on them, there's going to be horrible negative outcomes. A few years ago, there was a big movement called detransitioning, where all of these kids finally matured past the age of 25 and they said, what in the heck did my doctor do to me? And they're trying to reverse it, but it is almost impossible to do. This has been a movement over the last 5 to 7 years where detransitioning has really picked up steam. And now we have the research that backs this up and the lawsuits that are following. So anybody who's listening right now who is pushing for this ideology, I beg you, please look at the current research. You don't have to believe me. In fact, don't believe me. Look at the current research that's coming out. Look at the malpractice lawsuits that are falling onto the docket. Look at how the human brain grows and functions. And when you look at these 3 critical pieces of information, there is no doubt in my mind that you will come to the exact same conclusion that I've come to, and millions and millions and millions of Americans are coming to as well. Now, we already know these things, but it's those of you who have held this belief that need to recognize that it is doing damage. And we can right this wrong for the next generation. These kids, the best we can do is try and help them where they're at. But the next generation, we can do away with this gender ideology and we can start actually listening to them, giving them therapy, and helping them to process through those thoughts, feelings, and emotions where they feel like they're in a different body. This gender dysphoria, we can help them without mutilating their bodies or giving them life-altering surgeries while they're still having a young, undeveloped brain. Now, if you're an adult and you want to get these surgeries and get these things done, go for it, man. I have 100% on your side. Go do it if you're an adult. Let's let the kids mature so they can make that decision when their brain is fully developed. All right, that's my rant.
That was a good Q rant.
That's a Q rant right there. I have been saying this for a long time.
You know, it's funny that you brought that up. I make my 10-year-old, when she makes money, she does the laundry for like our laundry. We pay her to do our laundry because we get so busy. And she makes $10. She goes right on Amazon and says, Mom, can I buy this? I go, you have to wait 24 hours to spend your money. If you still want this thing in 24 hours, you can get it. And 9 out of 10 times, she's like, no, I don't want that. Imagine that kid having the choice to make a permanent change.
You know what they called girls that wanted to be boys when I was a kid?
A tomboy.
Tomboy.
That was me.
You're tomboys.
I was 6 when I told my parents I wanted to be a boy. I had older brothers. I wanted to be a boy.
You know, I met this lady, far left-leaning lady. She was on a flight with me. And she's a lesbian. Super cool lady. Super cool lady. I had some of the most wonderful conversations with her for 4 hours. 4 hours we talked. Okay, I'd never sat on a plane talk to somebody for 4 hours. Fascinating person to have a conversation with. Definitely on different spectrums when it comes to lifestyle, political leanings. Yeah. But this is one thing that we both 100% agreed on.
Well, a lot of them 100%.
Do.
There's just like you said, there's a movement of the detransit. There's a huge movement of, I think they call it gays against transitioning.
Yes.
And they're coming in hard at saying, hey, the funny ones are like, we fought so hard to live these quiet lifestyles to ourselves and you guys are ruining it for us.
Yes. That was her. That was her. She was like that. And she said, look, that was me when I was a kid. I was a tomboy and wanted to do boy stuff. But I am 100%. I'm so glad that they didn't push that on. Because I'm not a man. I am a lesbian woman, not a man. She was so fun to have a conversation. I'm just totally different ends of the spectrum on most everything. But we found a lot of common ground. We really did. And why? Because we took the time to be emotionally mature and have conversations. And when we disagreed on points, neither one of us tried to convince the other.
Yeah.
And it was so fascinating to me that we agreed on a lot of things, just about as many as we disagreed on. But this one, we agreed on more than anything else. Like this was the top of the pile of what we agree on. And so again, if you're listening to this and you were offended and you got upset, I really, really am begging you to be able to hold both ideas at once. Hold the idea of this gender affirming care as being right, but also hold this other opinion that it could possibly be seriously damaging. And just sit with both of those opinions. Go look up the research. You'll find exactly what I did. And once you have all of the information, that's all I'm asking. I'm not asking you to change your mind. I am 100% not asking you to do that. I'm asking you to consider the other possibility that this could possibly be really damaging to kids. And if you can just consider that for just a moment, do the research and come to your own conclusion. And if you still believe that we should be transitioning kids, then you can hold that opinion, and that's totally fine. I just want you to have all of the information so you do not fall victim to low information person syndrome.
Turn from a lips to a hip. I information person.
Yes. Lips to hips.
Lips to hips.
This just got really weird.
He's got to know.
Oh, so funny.
Mental health janitors, aka lips to hip.
All right, you guys, we love to have fun here. We love to bring you education. Hopefully we entertained you a little bit. If you liked anything that you heard here, please share this with your friends. Please like and subscribe. That's how we reach more people. We also have tons of free content, you guys. Go to thefirstonesfree.com. You're going to find all kinds of information there to help you on your mental health journey. Evolve is a new program that we just launched to help you evolve your thinking. It's an online platform that's going to help you take control of your mental health journey. For the Mental Health Janitors, I'm Sergeant Q.
I'm Dr. S.
And we're out.